Senator, I want to read to you something. This is a conclusion of the Department of Justice on the effectiveness of the assault weapons ban. Should it be renewed, the ban's effects on gun violence are likely to be small at best and perhaps too small for reliable measurement. If we can put that on the screen. When you couple that with Joe Biden saying that we should repeal the liability of gun manufacturers, but yet on the other hand, he's saying, I'm not trying to take your guns away. I would say he's trying to take our guns away.
Well, look, what you put on the screen is the conclusion of the Department of Justice. For 10 years, we had in place a ban on so-called assault weapons, and according to the Department of Justice, it did not have a meaningful effect on violent crime. The Democrats know this. You know, I got to say, I was listening to your monologue, and I usually agree with you, Sean. There's one thing you said tonight that I disagree with. You said that Biden promised to unify America, and he lied. I got to say, he has unified America. Just about everybody agrees he's doing a terrible job. Just about everybody agrees this is a train wreck. And you know what's frustrating about it, Sean? Is he's not willing to change. He's not willing to change course. This speech tonight, once again, he chose to double down on hard left divisive politics. You know, when it comes to violent crime, listen, I was at Uvalde last week, the day after the shooting. I was there with the local officials and with law enforcement and with family members. What happened in Texas is horrific. And anyone with any heartbeat is horrified that 19 little boys and girls were murdered, that 2 teachers were murdered. And what does Joe Biden and the Democrats do? They don't come back and say, let's unite behind law enforcement to stop criminals, to keep our kids safe. No, they immediately demagogue and say the solution is to take away your weapons. The solution is to disarm law-abiding citizens. And I got to say, you replayed a snippet of Biden's speech where he said, it is unconscionable that Republicans won't allow a debate. Well, you know what? Joe Biden in 2013, he was president of the Senate. He was vice president of the United States when the Democrats filibustered my legislation that would have directed the Department of Justice to prosecute violent criminals who try to illegally buy guns, that would have directed the Department of Justice to audit federal convictions to make sure in the background check system. That could have stopped the horrific shooting in Sutherland Springs, Texas, the church shooting, because the Obama Air Force never reported that shooter's conviction to the database. But also part of my legislation, the Cruz legislation, was $300 million for school safety, which could have perhaps prevented this horrific crime in Uvalde. And Joe Biden and the Democrats filibustered that legislation. 52 senators voted for it. 9 Democrats voted for it. We had bipartisan agreement. And the Democrats cynically said, if we can't disarm law-abiding citizens, we, the Democrats, are not willing to do anything to secure schools. Just this week, Joe Biden says he doesn't believe in hardening schools and making them safer. Well, that is cynical and it's wrong. And unfortunately, it is a set of policy proposals. What the Democrats are putting forward would not stop these horrible crimes. Instead, it's their political objective.
Why don't we start with this? Why don't we refund the police, stop dismantling the police, and why don't we keep those criminals in jail and abandon these no bail laws that let even violent criminals out without paying a penny in bail, so they're back out on the streets. By their very nature, criminals don't obey laws. And the CDC even points out, Senator, 2.5 million times a year, Americans use legal firearms to protect themselves and their families. So that would seem to me part of an argument that they don't want to talk about.
Look, that's exactly right. Even the Obama White House admitted that firearms are used defensively to stop crimes upwards of 1 million times a year. Even the Obama White House and these leftists want to take those firearms away so that people are defenseless to defend their families. They won't focus on the criminals. They won't focus on the bad guys. And I got to say, it was really frustrating being down in Uvalde, seeing what happened, because I was also on the ground at Santa Fe. The Santa Fe High School is less than an hour from my house. I was there within an hour or so of when that horrific shooting happened. And I remember sitting down at round tables with the families from Santa Fe, and one of the things they talked about was best practices. How do you make a school safer? And if you look at the Santa Fe shooter, what he did is he entered through an unlocked back door. He made it into a classroom and he was able to start murdering students. And one of the best practices that security experts will tell you is to harden schools so that you don't have unlocked back doors. You send everyone through one central entrance, which, by the way, federal courthouses have, federal buildings have, banks have. And at that entrance, you have armed police officers. And I've been championing the fight to provide funding for police officers in schools.
Well, Senator,
and what was so maddening in Uvalde is this guy also went through an open back door, got into the classroom and began murdering children. If we had passed that grant funding, if that door had been locked, if there'd only been one entrance, and if there'd been armed police officers at that entrance, those police officers could have killed that monster before he murdered those 19 students.
Senator,
and those two
I thought
teachers.